Welcome to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Glad you're with us. This edition is sponsored by the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. For more information, head to motoetf.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good afternoon, Fred.
Good afternoon. I hope you and all of our podcast family out there had a great Thanksgiving. More families getting together now, even though there's still some trepidation here and there, but it's opening up a bit, it seems.
It's opening up a bit, and let's hope it doesn't, re-kick everything in and whatever. It looks like from the data from the airports, it looks like maybe the country is flying again. We're almost up to 2019 levels on this, so my goodness. Look, I certainly have so much to be thankful for and appreciative, and I guess we're making progress. So, Fred, maybe we are making progress. We keep trudging along here, trying to make some progress.
Well, that's what it's all about. From the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter, AutoX operates China's largest fully driverless RoboTaxi service area in Shenzhen. So a pretty big story there, and we're hoping that they're going to be joining us in the not too distant future to talk about it a little bit. Pretty good story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've been a little bit, or at least I've been a little bit skeptical a little bit and so on of some of the things and some of the videos that we see from some of the manufacturers, but and there may have been some over promises, but it looks as if, I mean, from this latest round from AutoX, that in fact, they've been out there progressing in a large sense, much the way Waymo progressed in Arizona. And it looks as if really they are out there driverlessly, and what's impressive about them is that they do have a relatively sizable fleet to start. And the video they put out of driving in a village, I mean, I looked at it carefully. It looked real, and to be able to do that, boy, that car drove better than I could have driven down that street, I think. And so if they're having good response with no disengagements, I mean, it's the key thing, and they're out there driverlessly, and certainly haven't heard of any negative aspects. Well, congratulations and kudos are really in store for Jiangjiang.
And they've got some pretty big time backing too from Alibaba there, which is, I guess, just about akin to Google and Waymo here, right?
Yeah, they have big time backing and appropriately so. Jiang Xiao, their CEO, he was an assistant professor in computer science and really computer vision here at Princeton, and basically started focusing on this problem, and then of course left the university to become CEO of AutoX, and it looks like there's real substance. He's certainly a quality individual, and looks like he's actually doing it. So hats off, congratulations, all proud of you.
Absolutely. And Gatik and Walmart have achieved fully driverless deliveries. The press release says they're operating daily without a safety driver behind the wheel in Bentonville, Arkansas. We're happy that their CEO is scheduled to join us in the near future to discuss this, but it's exciting news.
Yeah, it's exciting news there too. That again, these are now two more companies out there who, through the evaluation of their own performance, have decided that the reward is substantially greater than the risk, and have taken this. And the key is to get to a point in which you can remove the attendant and the driver. At least the key to me. That's that's the enormous jump, because that all of a sudden begins to say, my goodness, this has the opportunity to scale, because now it's, as scale goes up, it comes out to be, just the operating costs, the how much electricity or fuel you burn, and the capitalization of the vehicle, and the cameras and processors and so on that are on board. And of course, my view is that the sensors and the actuators and the processors are all Moore's law-ish type things, which means as it scales, those costs are basically going to go to zero. And the key thing is that the labor cost, the cost of feeding somebody's family, to be able to accomplish these things, that's not part of the equation, because computers and lidars and radars and cameras and actuators don't have any families to feed. It's sort of it's so fundamental that all of a sudden that allows the cost of creating the mobility to become affordable. And if the costs are affordable, then hey, you want to make the price affordable, you make the price whatever you want. Since make the price so that you become a rich guy, or and for some, make the price so that it really delivers some societal value. But the amount that you're going to have to give to do that is going to be more acceptable by society, and therefore all of a sudden it'll be inexpensive to provide mobility on an equitable basis to folks. High quality mobility. Problem now is to do high quality mobility, you have to compact everybody so tightly so that you can put enough of them in a bus or in a subway train, so that you can afford to pay for the engineer or the motorman or the bus driver. So again, that's what I've considered to be revolutionary, is to get over that hurdle so that the technology is good enough to do that safely.
That and where you can go with this new mobility, because the subways and the buses are obviously limited as to
They're
where
really limited
where
where
they're
you can
serving.
go. Absolutely. So the opportunity is to do it in an operational design domain, but as it looks like AutoX started it in a small one and built it bigger. Waymo started in a small one and built it bigger. Gatik starts in one. The opportunity is you do it there and you incrementally increase it. And so all of a sudden you get network effects on this thing. You get things that are, square of opportunities and so on. I mean, the scaling piece of this is it looks very, very good. But of course, the challenge of all this is, while the technology might be able to scale and become affordable, the whole sociology of the thing, the acceptance of this technology and its ability to be appreciated is going to be key.
Absolutely. And we know how hard you've been working on this, and hopefully there's going to be some more news we'll be talking about soon.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, we have hope, Fred. Fred, if there's anything that we have, is we have hope. We haven't thrown in the towel yet.
Well, we talked about getting out and about a little bit, and the 9th annual Florida Automated Vehicles Summit is getting underway next week in Orlando, and that's something you're looking forward to.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, because finally getting back to there. I was there 2 years ago, and I think I was at the first one too, and all that. I've been to a number of them, and it's nice to see the Florida's bringing us together, and hopefully, get a chance to actually see somebody and talk to some people face to face. Wouldn't that be something? Oh my goodness.
Fred Lambert at Electrek reports that Tesla is now asking owners getting into the full self-driving beta program to accept that Tesla can use footage from both the inside and outside of the car in the event of a serious safety risk or a safety event like a collision. And that's something, I guess, that makes sense, right?
Enormous amount of sense, and I applaud Tesla for doing that. Is you have a choice. You can take advantage and be able to use the technology for your benefit, but there are some costs that are associated with that. And the cost is that you have to agree to be watched while you're doing it. One, to make sure you don't misbehave using it. I mean, come on, because if you start misbehaving using it, I mean, this is you can cause some problems. And
Well, we
two, I
already know
think
anytime there's any kind of a crash that makes some kind of headlines if it involves a Tesla.
well, not only headlines, it's fine if it makes headlines. The issue is to what extent who's responsible. One of the good things about using automobiles is it's supposedly a privilege. It's not a right. It's a privilege, and the privilege to be able to drive and to use the roads and so on and so forth requires that if you cause somebody some harm, you're the one that's responsible. The driver's responsible. I mean, that's why we buy insurances to help us out and go in case we somehow cause something, and because we're responsible for putting it back together or fixing it or providing appropriate compensation. But now, if it's going to be a computer or a gizmo that does the driving, then that gizmo has to be responsible. Well, of course, that responsibility, gizmo, what does it care? It's willing to go to the garbage dump and be crushed or something like that, as far as it's concerned. But the creator of that, then the responsibility needs to pass down to the creator of that. And the creator of the driver in the Tesla is Tesla. And so, they have to be responsible if something, if what they've put into the vehicle causes something bad to happen, they're liable. And so, for them to determine, look, for them to be there and at least realize that they're responsible, hey, might as well get the data from the system. In some sense, once you have the data, then there's always a gray area. Is it my fault or your fault? But boy, it makes it obvious. And if it makes it obvious, then they should be able to defend themselves and say, hey, look, it wasn't us, it was you. And if it was them, then I would suspect that they'll have all their lawyers and whatever say, hey, fix it, make good, settle. No use arguing about it. Now, sure, there's some gray area in there because, lawyers want to be able to whatever and whatever, or, will make, but in a sense, absolutely. Absolutely, in a sense, it's really by the computer and the system, the stack that did the driving for it to protect itself. And also to say, oh, yeah, sorry, it was my fault. We'll fix it. And by the way, here, let's settle this thing.
Well, they want to know, Tesla wants to know what your behavior has been like. I mean, GM is now advertising pretty heavily the new Super Cruise and some new vehicles coming out. So
yeah, they're watching you, and if you're not paying attention, they'll take it away. And I think, and I suspect, and I don't know, I haven't read the fine print or looked at the fine print that GM and so on put in there, but whether or not they get to use their data in case of and the interesting thing about the Tesla thing is not only if there's a crash, but a dangerous situation. And of course, I mean, to me, I think that indicates a great amount of responsibility by Tesla, saying, look, if we that was a close one, then they look at that and they see that, my goodness, it's because of something that we did or something like that. They can fix it. And that's great. But if you don't have the data for it and so on, well, then you can't. All right. And of course, tying it to an individual really comes as to, whether or not now there's going to be an argument as to who's responsible.
Well, another benefit, I suppose, is that if you're doing that and the drivers know that you're doing that, they're more likely to behave. Plain and
Well,
simple.
I would think
Hopefully.
so. Although, I think as some years past, the U.S. Department of Transportation had a whole research initiative in which they put cameras in cars and wanted to watch driver behavior. And of course, they told them the cameras were in the cars. And then, in the beginning, everybody's now like, perfectly driving down the road, staying, and about, 12 seconds later, they're picking their nose and whatever, and they're doing goofy stuff and whatever. And, they just forgot about it. And it didn't change it. Well, I think the conclusion was largely that it just cameras watching you really doesn't change your behavior, which was, not the prettiest response. Maybe I'm not, characterizing the research. I think it was done down at by folks at Virginia Tech, and it's good work. And I think, people have been trying to change my behavior for years, and they haven't made very much progress. Sorry about that.
This next one we're going to file under words matter. On the other side of the pond, Europe NCAP has published the assisted driving gradings of 7 cars equipped with highway assist. The document says the driver is expected to keep his hands on the wheel and his eyes on the road at all times. That caught your attention, Alain.
Well, I thought, I mean, I'm probably I am very unfair, but I think we try not to do that anymore here over on this side of the pond. But it is Europe. I think what's a little bit, what to me is still unfortunate with these systems is that the automated emergency braking system isn't fully integrated with the intelligent cruise control systems, and there's even in one evaluation that they point out that in fact, they even point out the admission that the intelligent cruise control does not stop for stopped vehicles. Okay, and it lets the stopping of the car lets the automated emergency braking system take care of that one if it can. And we've complained about this many times over here. It's great to have an automated emergency braking system, but the way those things are structured is that they wait until absolutely the last second before they do it. Last second, I think in Mercedes, or I may be not quoting it quite correctly, they wait until 1.6 seconds before collision. It's always computing time to collision. And when that comes to 1.6 seconds, then they tighten the seat belt, they raise the windows, they close the sunroof, they put a bolster down so the engine doesn't take out your legs. They do all this pre-stuff, and they slam on the brakes as hard as they can, and all hell breaks loose inside the car trying to stop. I guess that's fine, but why'd you wait until 1.6 seconds before collision? Why didn't you start at 1.7 seconds or 2 seconds or 2.2 seconds or whatever? Why didn't you gently do this? Well, of course, I know what the answer is, because, oh my goodness, then the occupant who's not the driver, or the driver at that time, is wondering why the car is braking. Okay, well, it's probably because you're tailgating and you're gaining on the guy, and back off. But of course, no OEM wants to do that, because the driver, he is king. Not so sure women react this way, but maybe, whatever. And it's just really unfortunate. I know my own car, the intelligent cruise control works very well. It slows down behind a car it's following, but because it knows it's a moving car ahead. And of course, the problem has been, as we pointed out so many times, is that these systems have trouble with respect to stationary objects detected in the lane ahead, because it makes mistakes too often. The false alarm rate of those things is too great. And maybe it's, hey, maybe you should slow down if you're fooled that something might be in the lane ahead. I know I do that when I drive. And my wife probably says to me, hey, why'd you do that? Right. Or although she may be tired of saying that to me, but if I'm sitting in the passenger seat, I'm like, hey, why'd you do that? But maybe that's, the amount of aggression that goes on in driving. I don't know if it's greater today than it was before. It certainly, in my own perception, seems, here in central Jersey, people are, I don't know if they're nuts, including me.
Yeah,
we need to back off a little bit.
We've seen the statistics to back up what you're saying. I mean, and it's not just New Jersey, unfortunately.
I think it's not just New Jersey, but it would be nice if the Society of Automotive Engineers, and I think, I keep pointing my finger at them, would, redo what the heck they're doing and take these two silos that they have out there. One is automated emergency braking, and one is intelligent cruise control and automated driving assistance system, and bring those things together. If you want to assist in my driving, probably the thing that I want most assistance with is, don't let me crash into things that are ahead of me, whether they're stationary or not. That's where I need the most help. And then keep me in my lane. All right? Because, I screw up on either one of those, I die. It's amazing I'm still alive. And we know what the statistics are with respect to, highest probability of death being age between, 9 or 10 or whatever, and, 50 or whatever is car crash. Huh. Come on, help us out here.
We'll be back with more, but first, this is a good time to remind you about our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF, symbol MOTO. To get more info, head to motoetf.com. On the website, look for a white paper. It's called The Smart Transportation Revolution. You'll find it under the Insights and News tab. Some great information there to help you make informed decisions about investing. ETFs, as you probably know, can be a good way to spread risk with investments, focus on a particular category of stocks. The website again is motoetf.com. We're back with more from the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter. Alain, our friend Henry Greenwich has helped to author a public policy toolkit for policymakers titled Advancing Transportation Electrification in Diverse Communities. It's on a website titled EV Hybrid Noir.
Right, yeah, and I hats off to Henry for putting this out. It's focused on electric vehicles, but I think the same recommendations can be for driverless vehicles. I think that they really offer, and there'll probably be electric vehicles too. But as we've argued, and I've argued here, that the opportunity to deliver high quality mobility affordably allows one to all of a sudden begin to provide equitable mobility out there, because there is a wide gap between those that have access to a car and those that don't. I mean, it's essentially most places in the US and the rest of the world.
Alan Baruch Feigenbaum at the Reason Foundation has a report that says New Jersey ranks 50th, I think that's last, in the nation in highway performance and cost effectiveness.
We don't have 51 states yet. Yeah, yes. A little discussion with Baruch about that, and my only comment is, "Ouch." Yeah, I think I tried to argue with him a little bit about, hey, we're the densest state, and of course, it'd be, with the densest and not all that miles of road and so on to move all the people and so on and so forth. But apparently, he's gone through the numbers, and maybe if you took density into account, we wouldn't be quite 50th, but we're pretty far down. Ouch. Baruch, love you, but ouch.
Well, you're hoping for some better New Jersey headlines soon.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Russ Mitchell in the LA Times reports high gas prices are hitting heavy duty pickup owners hard. And your comment is?
Well, I guess my comment is, if they move to big electric pickups, I'd hate to see what they're going to say about the price of electricity in 2030, but who knows? That's a whole other story. Yeah, look, I mean, I thought at one point when GM decided not to produce a Hummer anymore, we were in good shape and we'll get back to more reasonably sized vehicles. But guess what's happened? I mean, all these pickups, whoa. I mean,
well, the new GM plant, the first thing they're going to turn out, I think, is the electric Hummer. So
yeah, I know. I mean, apparently big is beautiful. Whatever.
The National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine recently published a report headlined "Driverless Motor Vehicles Not Yet Ready for Prime Time." And the conclusion reads, the potential benefits of driverless vehicles are significant. Removing the driver greatly reduces or eliminates human error, as well as risks due to human fatigue, distraction, and impairment. These factors account for the loss of nearly 40,000 lives every year in the United States. But major challenges must be addressed before driverless motor vehicles will be ready and accepted by the public for widespread use. This is a generalization, and there's nothing I don't think that we haven't said right here.
Right, and they basically refer to a report by our friend Chris Hart, who was chairman of the National Transportation Safety Board and investigated numerous airline crashes, and of course his focus has been, and his view, and I agree with it, is that it's taken a long time for autopilots and airplanes to work well, even though it's a heck of a lot. And by some, a heck of a lot, including him, by some, a heck of a lot easier problem, because there aren't kids playing with balls up there at 30,000 feet, and still, we have pilots in airplanes. Right. I mean, it's a phenomenal what the airline industry and the aircraft industry has been able to do with respect to safety of those systems. I look at the driverless aspect. It's to me, the objective is not safety. I mean, I think I like to argue that we are very good drivers when we pay attention. And really, what the automation is going to allow is that the automation is going to pay attention and isn't going to misbehave the way we misbehave. So the real opportunity with the automation is to deal with the misbehavior issue and substantially reduce the misbehavior, not really to help us drive better than we can drive when we're behaving and paying attention. I mean, that would really have to be good. But of course, the other element that Chris doesn't bring out in his article is that the real value for doing driverless, to me, is the equity business, is the provision of mobility, affordably, and high quality mobility affordably to the general public. And they're not that we want to put them at risk, but this provides really substantial improvement in quality of life. So if we look at the evolution of the airline industry from 1903 to today, we went through some airplanes. I don't know, Ford Tri-Motor, Lockheed Electra, DC-3, really good airplanes. But, I linked to their safety record, and their safety record was, it was acceptable given the enormous improvement in mobility to a certain group of folks. And so we went through that, and we didn't wait until we were as safe as we are today to open this up to provide mobility to people. We evolved it, and we evolved it over, a solid 100 years, if not a solid, 120 years. And in the beginning, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest thing going, but the value to society certainly outweighed the risk. Had it not, then it would have been like the Hindenburg, that ended, boom. Okay. That, now maybe because it wasn't ours, or because of who knows what other politics that are in there, but fundamentally, society, as it looked at it, the risks were greatly outweighed the value. But that wasn't the case with respect to airplanes. And I think that, we're going to, at some point, face that. And if you look at what AutoX is doing, you look at what Waymo is doing, you look at what Gatik is doing, you look at what GM Cruise is doing, they've reached the point, and at least they're indicating, and where they're operating, the value to society is greater than the risk. Otherwise, they wouldn't have done it. Right. And their perception of the risk here is not something that they've discounted, not at all. Because as we know, I mean, the few data points that we have in which some bad things have happened, my goodness, the risks were more than expected. There was a multiplicative factor on the computed, analytically computed risk in terms of what became captured or and placed on it. I keep saying that Uber lost 60 billion in market cap because of one crash. Whew. I mean, has there been a more expensive crash in history involving one individual? I don't know. I mean, somebody will probably write in and tell me that there have, and give me links to a bunch. I'd love to see them.
You're talking about what happened when they went public compared to what the forecast was.
Yeah, what the forecast was. And sure, some other things happened, but nothing else happened of any substantial magnitude. I don't know. I mean, I'm of course, it's somewhat speculation. It seems obvious to me.
Well, let's hop on one of those planes you were talking about here and visit some headlines elsewhere. The United Arab Emirates unveiled its first autonomous taxi this week at the Abu Dhabi Smart City Summit. And then we can head to China, I suppose. Baidu and Pony AI have won approval to launch paid driverless RoboTaxi services, fewer than 100 vehicles. This is in Beijing. And WeRide is doing RoboTaxis on GAC's online ride-hailing app.
Yeah,
so there's a lot going on.
There are things going on, and I think these are really some substantive announcements. They're not just trying to pump for some more money from the venture capitalists. It seems that these have some substance. So they're the pendulum is swinging, and I think swinging in a positive direction to have some of these happen. And I hope they're not too early, and that they don't lead to they're not too soon. We do not want to do this too soon. And in fact, I think that the technology is the easy piece, the sociology is the tough piece.
Some really significant news finally out of Purdue University that could really, I mean, there is still, even if you talk about 300 miles on a charge, there is still some range anxiety out there. Some people don't think that's good enough if they have to wait 20 or 30 minutes to get a charge, or sometimes longer. Purdue is saying its engineers have invented a new patent pending charging station cable that would fully recharge certain electric vehicles in under 5 minutes. That's going to open some doors if that goes to market, isn't it?
I guess maybe, but I guess you also have to look at
it. Doesn't solve the issue of where the power comes from. I mean,
well, it doesn't solve the issue of where the power comes from. It also just deals with the cable leading to your plug. Somehow the electricity has to also get to the batteries. So of course, I think you need the same cable going from your plug out to the batteries and whatever distributing out, however that sucker's going. And of course, the way they're doing this is they're just increasing the voltage. What that does, and what this cable is that it has to provide the cooling to the heat that is generated, because you're really trying to pump too many electrons through that wire too quickly. And of course, that's the reason why you don't, is because if you try to do that, the whole thing catches fire. So you got to cool it. So then you ask yourself, what is it that we're trying to solve here? Oh my goodness. I try to put in the electrons faster. Now I have to cool the cable. So therefore I need some electrons to cool the cable. Okay, because now I even need more electrons, not only the electrons that are going to go into my battery, but now the electrons that I need to cool the cable. Oh my goodness. I mean, what's the efficiency of this whole operation? Kind of the good thing when I was pumping my gas is I guess it required a little bit of electricity to get the fuel out of the tank into my tank. But are we
should tell people this was not in New Jersey. You're not allowed to pump your own gas.
New Jersey, you can't. You got to have a little motor. I mean, I guess maybe in other states they ask you to use some muscle power. No, I'm sure they don't. But again, to charge faster, it's going to cost us something. It's going to cost us. It costs us stuff in energy, and it's going to take more energy to do that faster. And the question is we're really out of all this trying to reduce the amount of energy, reduce the amount of carbon, and reduce and save the planet. But then, at some point, somebody has to ask, where do all these electrons come from? And we've been asking that question for some time, and I guess somebody's going to figure that out. But my goodness, and and one other that I may add in here, apparently, I don't know, there's news out of California that again they're turning off power because they're afraid of sparking and overheating of the wires, because they're pumping so many electrons through those wires that all of a sudden it's going to start wildfires. And now that there are bunch of folks that don't have any electricity. What are they going to do when they don't have electricity to put into their EV to get anywhere? I don't know. It's nice that we have a car now, maybe, that can use electricity. We better spend a major effort to deal as to where in the heck the electricity is going to come from and how it's going to be priced. Because all of a sudden, if I need electricity to cool my cable so that it doesn't take me long to charge up my car, and I need the electricity to charge my car so I can go someplace, then I've asked the question that who's the new Saudi Arabia on this thing? We have to watch out what the cartel is going to all of a sudden start charging us for this electricity.
So there's much more to it than simply building more charging stations and faster charging. much more to it to make
I think
this
there's
really
much more
make sense.
much more to it, and you know, and to me, we had this competition in about 1905 or something like that between steam, internal combustion, and electricity. And I've suggested that at that particular point in history, it wasn't quite clear who was going to be the winner. Were the Stanley Steamers going to win? Were the Baker Electrics going to win, or were the Otto, internal combustion engines going to win? And in the end, it became clear that, my goodness, steam was whoa, and was way too heavy and whatever. And I guess, and electricity, the battery has always been tough, and we've made some improvements in the battery technology, but not anything similar to the improvements we made in computer technology, a la Moore's law. Nothing near that. We aren't anywhere comparable to, exaflops. I mean, we're doing exaflops, 10 to the 18th floating point instructions per second. Whew. I mean, that's like, unbelievable, through parallelization and everything else, and micro whatever, and so on and so forth. Enormous. We need maybe not that kind of improvement over so many years that we've had with Moore's law, but at least a little bit of that with batteries. Otherwise, the storing of this stuff and having enough and whatever, and having them, I don't know. Some people may say, hey, maybe this isn't the way to save the planet. I don't know. Smaller trucks would help, okay? And darn it, if everybody went to smaller trucks, smaller cars, and so on and so forth, I mean, and you doubled the efficiency of gasoline, because things were smaller and lighter and so on. It's going to take electricity a long time before it contributes that, especially when electricity is trying to get rid of coal so that we can light our houses and make aluminum.
There's work to be done. I think we need all that computing power you were talking about to help solve the problem.
I guess. I don't know. I think at times maybe we should just look back the envelope sort of things to make sure that the kinds of things that we're doing aren't, doesn't pass the sniff test.
On that note, hopefully our turkeys all pass the sniff test.
Oh my God, my goodness. Oh geez, yes.
We want to thank our sponsor, the Smart ETF's Smart Transportation and Technology ETF. The ticker symbol for the ETF is MOTO, and more info is available at motoetf.com. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Google, Spreaker, Amazon, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts, really. And you can get the smart speaker you have to play us too. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching, and please stay safe and have a great long weekend.
And you have a great long weekend, and happy December's coming, and the coming holidays and so on and so forth. Everybody be safe, happy, and hope to see you at Florida for the Florida AV conference.